Welcome to a veteran's 2 cents worth. Hopefully by now you've gathered I am the veteran. I guess I should start with my military background. When I joined basic training, I was in Alpha Company 1st to the 50th Infantry 3rd Platoon, shown here. In this picture, this photo was actually taken on July 21st of 1992, which was my birthday. After that, once I graduated AIT, they sent me to Fort Riley, Kansas, which was Charlie Company 2nd to the 16th Infantry 3rd Platoon, and that was around September of 92. I joined the military for 4 years thinking and was told that if you did, you would be sent to Germany, which, they had big beer, Stein beers, and you could drink all day and everything was hunky-dory. So I signed up for 4 years and they sent me to Camp Hovey, Korea, which was not someplace you want to be. It's basically outside the gate. It's miles of prostitution and bars. But while I was in there, while I was at Camp Hovey, they disbanded 2nd to the 16th Infantry, and we became the 1st Infantry Division, which is aptly named the Big Red One, seen on the hat here. Once I got shipped, I spent a year over there, or a little over a year actually, and then was sent back to Fort Riley, Kansas, where of course I stayed the 1st Infantry Division, and where I was honorably discharged in around June of 96. The expectations of this channel, I wanted it to be organic, so there's not going to be a lot of editing done or cutting things out. If I make a mistake, I'm going to go ahead and live with that mistake. I'm going to try to keep each video hopefully 15 minutes or less. What I wanted it to be organic so that my viewers, if I get any, would be able to guide it however they wanted it to be. Hopefully it will come out to be some sort of mentorship or discussion platform where I can speak of my past experiences, and hopefully people can take facts and important things that help them in whatever they're trying to get through in their life. If I do get a lot of subscribers and people decide that they like this kind of content, maybe it will turn into streaming or podcasting, something like that. For my pilot discussion or my pilot video, I wanted to talk about something that I kind of know a little bit about and had a huge influence on my life personally, and that is should I or should I not join the military? For this particular question or discussion, I didn't feel like going into what the different branches do, or most people know what the 4 branches are anyway, or there's subdivisions of each branch, etc., but I didn't want to get into all that. I'm going to speak out of experience from joining the U.S. Army. So every story I tell or everything is going to be coming from Army experience, not Marines, Navy, or Air Force or anything like that. So I guess for the biggest thing, I have a basic outline I'm following, but if it goes in a different direction, then of course I'm just going to keep talking in that direction. The first question that, if you're even considering it, you should be asking yourself is, why am I considering joining the military in the first place? So I came up with a couple of avenues to explore here. One, and first and foremost, it usually comes up, well, my family doesn't have money. Okay, so I have this money issue and I need to solve it. Okay, but in life, there are lots of different ways that you can earn money. And the military is a very risky way of going about just earning money, because there are so many ways, billions and billions and billions of different ways to earn money. Another one that usually comes up is lineage. Hey, my father was a Marine, my father's father was in the Army, and so on and so forth, and centuries and centuries back, we're all military. Okay, well, as it may, you have to do this for you, because if you catch a bullet in the forehead, what good does your lineage do you? Okay, you have to have specific reasons that will benefit you and not your family or your family's reputation. The worst reason I can fathom of somebody joining any kind of branch of service is, I want to know what it's like to kill somebody, or I want to kill the enemy. If killing comes to mind in any way, shape, or form, first you should really look at your past and your outlook on life, and then know that taking a life takes more out of you or more from you than you might think. So if killing is your only motivation for joining the military is not going to be right for you. And if you do join, or even if you don't, more than likely with that frame of mind, you're going to end up dead. Lastly, usually people say, well, I need a career. Okay, I need, or I want to go to college. So in this avenue, if you want to make the military a career, well, that's awesome. And there's a few other factors that I'll talk about in a minute that go along with that. But there's, always college options, trade schools, basically what I'm saying is that if you're looking at some way, if there is a alternate avenue that you can take, you need to explore that as well, not just a military avenue, because there are risks going in the military where there are less risks going into other avenues such as college and trade school, as I had mentioned. So the first thing I want to really talk about is most teenagers don't look at is, okay, well, I've gone to high school, I've made a disaster of that, I have really, really shitty grades, but I want to do this like graphic design thing, but if I don't have the grades to go to college, I'm just going to join the army, I'm going to sign up, and if I shoot somebody for them, they're going to let me do this job or send me to college, etc., etc. And that is a fallacy, okay? That is really not going to happen. First of all, even to be able to sign up for the military, you have to take what they call an ASVAB test, which is basically a military standard SAT test. They're going to ask you the same kind of questions, except you're not going to take it over a week. They're going to throw you in a room. They're going to say you have like 2 to 3 hours to answer these questions. Whatever answers that you don't answer, they're wrong. And if you don't get a certain score, well, guess what? You're going to be a ground pounder, which is basically 11 Bravo, and I'm living proof. They will send you there, and you will be catching bullets with your flak vest or your teeth or your face or something. You're going to be a glorified meat shield. Okay, so once you take that test, depending on your score, that allows them to offer you a certain standard of jobs. So if you get really, really shitty scores, guess what? You're a grunt. If you get mediocre scores, well, you could be a paper pusher. If you get extraordinary scores, then basically you can have your pick of thousands of jobs. But again, if you don't get a good score, your jobs become very, 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 very limited. The next thing you should think of is if you're going to if you go through all that and you say, well, I still really want to take the avenue of joining the military, well, understand the risk. Now you have to look at the world and say, okay, the pros and cons. One of the cons is that if you join the military and you're looking for a career path or looking to do not, shooting other people, well, the world is full of conflict right now. Our soldiers are spread over so many different places that the chances of you getting sent to a conflict is extraordinarily high right now. So that's one thing you want to keep in mind. Another risk factor, as opposed to getting a job or going to college, you join the military, you have the risk of death. No matter what way you think about it, if you're joining the military and you get sent to conflict, whether you're right out front or all the way in the back, okay, there's a risk of death. And if you don't die, there is always the risk of becoming a disabled veteran, okay? Lose a leg, lose an arm, okay? If you're looking for a specific career path in the military and you lose both of your arms, well, that career path is probably now over. So that's another thing to think about. So if you get past that and you say, okay, well, I've weighed all the risks and everything like that, and I really want to do this, I have a feeling this is for me. Okay, so there's two things you have to consider now that take precedence. Okay, so you've now signed the paper, you're on your way, no turning back. Okay, you said, okay, the first thing is I have the education. Okay, I took the ASVAB, I scored high. That's precedent number one. We got that aside, we're good to go. The second one that comes to mind is your physical health. Okay, if you're saying, well, I'm obese and I want to join the military so I can get in shape. Okay, thinking in that frame of mind is going to put you in a place that's really scary, because they have what they call the fat farm, okay, which is horribly named, but pretty much that's what it is. Once you get to your MEP station, your in-processing station, they're going to make you take a short, real stint of a test to see how many push-ups and sit-ups that you can do, usually 10 and 10. If you cannot do that, they will send you to the fat farm. Well, they will grind you into the ground with push-ups, sit-ups, and running until you feel like you just want to die, okay? And then at the end of that month of being in the fat farm, they'll test you again. And you can go month after month after month, keep failing the test and failing the test. And at this point, you're not even working towards graduating your basic training yet. They're just getting you into the shape so you have the chance to graduate basic training. Once you pass that minor physical training test, you go into basic training, which at the end you got to pass the main physical test, which is a lot harder. So if you're joining the military to get in shape, please do yourself a favor, get in at least minor shape first. If you can do 10 push-ups and 10 sit-ups, well, at least you beat going to the fat farm so that you can join, and then good luck from there. Let's say that you're not obese, but your physical construct is very small. Okay, you're 110 pounds soaking wet, can't do a push-up or sit-up. Same thing's going to happen. If you can't pass that physical test, they are going to send you to a different kind of farm, which is not the fat farm, but they're going to make you just do like push-ups and sit-ups all day until you get strong enough to do those. So if you are underdeveloped in that way, you still want to get in some kind of physical shape so you can do 10 sit-ups and 10 push-ups and maybe run at least a mile in like 15 minutes. Then you have a good chance that when you get to the MEP station, you're not going to be thrown into another horrible, disastrous world. Because they sent me to Fort Benning, Georgia. Right out of high school, it was the beginning of July. My drill sergeant shows up at my home and says, "Do you have a toothbrush?" I said, "Yes." And he says, "Good, don't worry about it. You won't need it. Just get in the car." And off we went, got me on a plane from Maine, and I hopped over. They landed in Georgia, got me out of the thing, and I went from 70 degrees to 115 degrees off the plane on the blacktop, passed out within 15 minutes, woke up, my drill sergeant standing over me and says, "Well, maybe you need an acclimatization period." So trust me, it's not a cakewalk. So they get us to Georgia, and they put us on a cattle truck, which is a real cattle truck that you put cows on. They drive us to the MEP station. They scream into everybody to get off the truck. We all get off the truck. They put us out on this like cement concrete platform where there's a wooden stage, and all of these upper brass were up there and saying things, and they have us all sit down like hundreds to thousands of just people in processing becoming soldiers. And down front, they have all of these drill sergeants, and they're working their way up, just screaming all of this drill sergeant things, terrifying everybody. And I start looking to my left and to my right, saying, "Well, is everybody as scared as I am?" And then I look to my left, and there's this what looks like a 14 or 15-year-old kid. He had to be an adult because here he was, but he's like physically shaking. And the drill sergeants are getting louder and louder as they're getting closer and closer and closer, and they're still yelling at people, saying all those drill sergeant things. And my heart's pounding, and I look over again at this kid, and he's like visibly shaking. He's like the biggest vibrator that I've ever seen in my life. And the drill sergeant gets up to him and he says, "Look at you shaking. Can you even do a single push-up at all, soldier? Can you do that?" And the kid's so terrified at this point that he urinates all over the concrete. So what happened to him after that, I'm going to leave out, but it really wasn't pretty. So trust me when I tell you, it's not just going to be a physical thing. It's going to be a mental and emotional thing, more so than you can possibly imagine, because it is terrifying. Whether you know that a drill sergeant can hit you or not, if they're in their face and they're screaming and they're much larger than you, then guess what? It's scary. The last thing I wanted to really mention is that I told you I went over to Korea and I was there for about a year. When I first got there, they really didn't know where to put me. So what they did is they made me into a glorified paper pusher working in processing stations. So basically, the soldiers would land in Korea, they bring them to this like central area where all the camps are surrounding it. I believe it was Camp Casey or something like that. And every soldier would have to come into this specific building and walk past these several different people, and I was the first person in that row. Basically, I would take all their basic information, type it into this newfangled computer system, because computers had just gotten out at that point, and type it all into the paperwork and file it in the filing cabinet, etc., etc. I was a secretary. So as a paper pusher, I did that for probably like a month. And in the middle of it, I came to this horrifying realization that I was taking somebody that was flesh and blood and basically transforming them into data. And it wasn't just any data. Basically, this was like conflict math data. So basically, they say, okay, well, the Koreans have this many people on the line, and if they invade, they're going to invade with approximately this many soldiers. So we have to have at least that many soldiers plus this many soldiers to make sure that we are in the optimal place for victory. Okay? So this is percentages. Okay? So people are taking from their physical form and turned into a chess piece or a percentage in the most horrific math probability game ever devised by man. So when you're thinking about considering this, or if you've already joined, just keep all of this information in mind and weigh all of your options extremely heavily and for a long period of time to make sure that this decision is going to be appropriate, and that there's more pros than cons, and that this is going to benefit you as well as other people, but mostly it must benefit you, because the risk of death or disablement or anything like that is extremely high. So you want to make sure that you are making the right decision. So if you found any of this useful, or you took anything away from this at all, please give a like. If you want and like to hear more of this kind of thing, or you feel that you would like to discuss a different topic, or you feel that I haven't touched on something and would like me to do so, please leave a comment and subscribe. That way, when I put out more content, you will be notified. I appreciate your attention, and I thank you, and I am here to serve, and I am happy to serve. And you have a good evening.